All right, so are you ready to dive into the AWS jungle?
Let's do it.
Specifically, your AWS jungle for like Read.Invent 2024.
Sounds good.
You've given us quite the map here, with all these sessions marked on your calendar.
It's quite a diverse map this time around, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
You've marked everything from those serverless architectures to, like, AI-powered robots, even a little bit of quantum computing sprinkled in.
It's true, it's true.
You're not afraid of a challenge, are you?
This is what I love. I love this. You're clearly here to really, like, explore all the things AWS.
That's the spirit.
But even with the best intentions, and like we all know this, no one can be in 5 places at once.
Right. Sadly, no.
Especially at reInvent, where there's always something awesome happening.
It's true. It's overwhelming how much there is.
So, you being the listener, how do we help conquer this conference without getting completely overwhelmed?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it?
It really is. So, expert speaker, what's our game plan? What's the first thing we should tackle?
Okay, so looking at your calendar, the thing that really jumps out at me is the focus on resilient architectures.
Oh, interesting.
You've highlighted sessions like building resilient systems in a globally connected world, right?
Right.
Resilient by design, building robust disaster recovery on AWS, that one too.
Yes.
And even the classic resilience of the AWS cloud session, that's always a good one.
Oh, for sure. A classic.
So to me, it's clear that building reliable systems, that's a top priority for you, right?
Makes sense though, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't explore the cloud if the cloud's like constantly crashing. And that resilience of the AWS cloud session, oh man, that's like getting a peek behind the curtain.
Behind the scenes.
Right, exactly. And how AWS keeps everything running smoothly. Because let's be honest, it usually does.
Right, for the most part. So it's about understanding the why behind the what, right?
Okay, like that.
And speaking of why, let's talk about AI.
Okay, yeah.
Specifically how it applies to real-world problems, because I see that's a big interest of yours.
Yeah.
You've got that generative AI for nonprofits, low to full code development approaches session marked on your list. And then you've also bookmarked the modernizing application security and resiliency with AI-assisted DevOps workshop.
Yep, that one too.
Now, those are two very different applications, right?
They are.
But they both hint at this desire to really use AI for practical solutions.
Okay, yeah. You're really picking up on something there. I'm definitely drawn to that idea, like how do we use this AI for practical stuff?
Exactly. And it goes even further. You've also shown interest in the session on building a cost-effective RAG-based Gen AI application with Amazon Aurora. Does that sound familiar?
Yes, that's on my list.
So it's clear you're really into the idea of building these impactful AI applications without, needing a gazillion dollars to make it happen.
Okay, that's insightful. You've identified like the common thread connecting those choices, right? Practical AI, high impact, but like doesn't break the bank.
It's all about that ROI.
Exactly, because who has unlimited resources these days?
Nobody I know.
Right. Everyone's trying to do more with less.
Which makes picking the right sessions even more important.
Oh, absolutely.
For example, you've double-booked yourself, which happens. It's Re.Invent. But you've got Amazon EKS, infrastructure as code, GitOps or CI/CD, at the same time as high-performance LLM inference scaling on Amazon EKS.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, I see the conflict.
And both of those are amazing sessions, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But they cater to, slightly different skill sets and project phases.
It's true.
So that's where the tough decisions come in.
It's the classic Re.Invent dilemma. Too much good stuff, not enough time. And honestly, that's kind of why we're here.
Here to help?
Exactly, to help you navigate those tough choices and prioritize what's going to be most impactful. And speaking of impactful, let's move on to another area where I see a lot of interest. Serverless computing.
Ah, yes. Serverless. Always a hot topic.
Always a hot topic. And for good reason, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
It's only becoming more important in the cloud world. So let's see. You've bookmarked the AWS Lambda performance tuning, best practices and guidance.
Good one.
And choosing the right serverless compute services sessions.
Yeah, those are both great for getting a solid foundation.
Right. So you're clearly looking to level up your serverless game here.
You're on the right track.
Which is smart because As we said, it's only becoming more important.
And it's not just about understanding the individual services, it's about mastering how to make them sing.
Right.
Optimize. Exactly. And that's where a session like managing state and serverless applications comes in.
Yeah.
That one's all about making sure that your applications can, handle those real world scenarios.
Right. Without missing a beat. It's like the difference between, building a car and making sure that that car can win a race.
Perfect analogy.
So speaking of real-world applications, something that caught my eye is process near real-time payments with serverless architectures.
Ooh, that's a good one. Very timely.
Right. That sounds incredibly relevant, especially like in today's world, everything's moving so fast.
Absolutely. It speaks to this growing need for those like low latency solutions, where every millisecond counts.
Especially with financial transactions, you don't want to be messing around.
Exactly. And it'll be interesting to see how they unpack that, what architectural patterns and services make that kind of speed and reliability possible.
Right, right.
And what's really fascinating to me, you've also connected this back to your interest in AI.
Ah, you noticed that, huh?
I did. Let's dive into that.
Okay, let's talk about it.
You've highlighted secure access to enterprise generative AI with serverless AI gateway. So that tells me you're thinking about, okay, how do I tap into all this cool AI stuff but do it securely?
Yeah, it's like AI is awesome, but you don't want it to be, running wild.
Exactly. It's like, gotta keep it on a leash. Right.
Totally, totally.
So this session, it probably goes into how to build these really secure and scalable AI gateways.
Yeah.
So you can control who has access, keep your data safe, that kind of thing.
Super important. And speaking of scaling, you also have scale streaming workloads with AWS Lambda on your list.
Ah, streaming workloads, another big one.
So it sounds like you're dealing with some serious data in motion.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Are we talking like analyzing social media trends in real time or maybe like tracking those financial transactions as they're happening?
All of the above.
Okay, then this session is going to be key because they'll probably be exploring how to optimize those Lambda functions, but specifically for that high volume streaming data.
Right, which is essential when you need to be making decisions in like real time.
Exactly. Real-time analytics, real-time decision-making. This is where it's at. Now, let's switch gears just a little bit. Talk about data management and analytics, because I see you've got data integration with AWS Glue and Amazon MWAA highlighted.
Yes.
And ingest streaming data into Apache Iceberg tables with AWS streaming. You're on a roll with the streaming data.
Well, it's kind of important these days, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. It seems like you're trying to wrangle all this data effectively.
It's all about building those data pipelines, right?
Yes.
Taking that raw data, processing it, turning it into something we can actually use.
Exactly. And these sessions will probably cover like all the tools and techniques for doing just that, from ingestion to analysis without, breaking the bank or your infrastructure.
Efficiency and scalability.
Always. Okay. And then you have this one. Use serverless knowledge graphs for hybrid search with Amazon Neptune.
Okay, yeah. That one sounds kind of next level, to be honest.
Right. Like we're getting really fancy with our search capabilities here.
So break that down for me. What exactly are knowledge graphs? Why should we be excited about them?
Okay, so imagine being able to search for information, right? But not just by keywords, by like the actual relationships between different data points. That's what knowledge graphs let you do. Represent that data in a more, I would say, interconnected way. Super valuable if you're trying to build smarter search applications.
So instead of searching for just AWS Lambda, I could search for serverless compute services that work with my existing data pipeline.
Exactly. And with Amazon Neptune, you can build these things, these powerful knowledge graphs, using their fully managed graph database service. Pretty cool, right?
Very cool. Okay, let's zoom in on some of these like shorter sessions, the chalk talks you've got marked. I see choosing the right AWS storage service.
A classic.
AWS WAF. What a BOT it. I love that title. Laughing. Me too. And then best practices for cost optimization with AWS backup. Those are some essentials right there.
The essentials, the fundamentals. Choosing the right storage, super important for performance, cost, all of that. And AWS WAF, your first line of defense against those pesky bots, right?
They're the worst.
They are. And then, of course, who doesn't love to save a little money? So optimizing that backup strategy, that's key. All right, let's talk workshops, because you've selected a few that look really interesting. Generative AI with data on Amazon EKS, Dokes. And then you've got migrate to an open source database on AWS using .NET and PostgreSQL.
I'm a hands-on learner, so the workshops are always my favorite part of Redundant.
Oh, for sure. You get that real-world experience.
You get to actually do something.
Exactly. So with that Duckus workshop, you're probably going to dive into building and deploying AI applications all using Amazon EKS. And then that database migration one, it'll probably guide you through moving from, say, SQL Server to PostgreSQL.
Got it, got it. And then there's that modernized application security and resiliency with AI-assisted DevOps. I feel like everyone wants to know about that these days.
Yeah, it's like the hot topic, right? How do we leverage AI to just make our security better? So this workshop, it'll likely cover how to integrate AI into your DevOps pipeline, and that lets you like detect and respond to threats way more effectively. Okay, I have to ask about this one. Smart home sidekicks. Build a cloud and AI-powered robot puppy.
That sounds amazing.
Right.
Like, is it wrong that that's the session I'm most excited about?
Not at all.
It combines, like, all the cool things.
It really does. It's fun, it's engaging, you're going to learn about AWS IoT, AI services, and you get to build a robot puppy. What's not to love?
Sign me up. Okay, maybe I'm getting a little carried away here, but I think you get the point. There's so much to explore at Re.Invent. From those, like, super serious enterprise solutions to the fun, innovative projects.
There really is. And speaking of exploring, let's talk about this hybrid cloud and edge computing.
Oh, yeah.
Because you've got a few things highlighted here that make me think you're interested in how to, like, extend AWS beyond the traditional cloud environment.
That's right, I am. I have AWS hybrid cloud and edge computing from the lens of VMware architects, as well as step-by-step migration of on-premises VMware workloads to AWS outposts on my list. I'm trying to figure out how to make this all work together seamlessly.
Yeah, it's a common challenge for sure. And these sessions, they'll probably explore all those tools and strategies for connecting your on-premises world to the AWS cloud, leveraging things like AWS Outposts to bring those cloud capabilities right to the edge.
And then there's implement ARG without compromising on digital sovereignty, which, honestly, that's a big deal these days. Wouldn't you
That's
say?
huge.
Data privacy, control, it's all super important. But can you back up a second and explain, like, what exactly is ARG? I feel like that's a new one for a lot of people.
Yeah, so RG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. It's a mouthful, I know. But basically, think of it like this. You can build these AI systems that can access and process tons of information, right? But at the same time, they're still adhering to those like really strict data privacy rules.
So it's like giving AI all this brain power without letting it just access data it shouldn't have access to.
You got it.
That's really interesting.
It's powerful stuff. And this session, it probably digs into all the challenges and solutions for doing this, right? For implementing RAG, but, keeping that sensitive information like locked down.
That makes a lot of sense. It sounds like RAG could really be a game changer, especially for those organizations that really need to keep that data sovereignty top of mind.
Absolutely. It's definitely one to watch.
It is. It is. Okay, let's try to squeeze in a couple more of these chalk talks.
Let's do it. I'm ready for more.
High-performance computing is a capacity challenge. We have solutions. That one jumped out at me.
Yeah, high-performance computing, always a hot topic. This session is probably going to be all about how AWS can help you tackle those capacity challenges because, let's face it, HPC needs a lot of power.
Right. And then there's making HPC and other R&D workloads accessible beyond the AWS console.
Yeah.
Now, that one sounds kind of interesting, right? Making it more user-friendly.
Yeah, like democratizing access to those more complex workloads, making those HPC and R&D resources available to like a wider range of users. Very cool. Okay, and then we have network packet capture using Mount Point for Amazon S3 and Carpenter. That's a mouthful.
I'll be honest, that one's a little over my head, even just the title.
Yeah, it sounds like a deep technical dive for sure. But hey, network packet capture, it's critical for like security monitoring, troubleshooting, all that good stuff.
You're making me feel like I need to pack another suitcase just for all the knowledge I'm going to be bringing home from Re.Invent.
It's going to be intense, but in the best way.
Okay, let's shift gears one more time and talk about security, because I know this is a big one for you. You've got a ton of sessions bookmarked here. Securing generative AI on AWS, strategies and best practices for securing containerized environments, building zero-trust architectures with AWS practical guidance. It's like a security deep dive.
Well, it's important. Security is paramount, right? And what I'm seeing here is a really comprehensive approach. You're thinking about security at all those different layers, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, it's like building a house, right? You need that strong foundation, you need secure walls, a reliable roof. It all has to work together to keep those, metaphorical belongings safe.
Exactly. And these sessions, they probably cover a whole range of tools and techniques and those best practices to help you do just that. Okay, now, this one caught my eye. Shift left, a builder's discussion. What do you think about that one?
Shift left. Hmm.
Yes.
That sounds intriguing.
It does, doesn't it? It's like, what are they shifting left?
Right. Fill me in. What's the story there?
So shift left, it's all about integrating security right from the get-go. Instead of treating it like an afterthought, you're making it part of the DNA of your applications.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. So it's like installing that alarm system while you're building the house, not waiting till you've already moved all your stuff in.
Exactly. And it's so important, especially in the cloud. So smart to be thinking about this.
Right. Better safe than sorry, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about this one? Threat detection and response using AWS security services. That sounds like we're getting into the nitty-gritty now.
Yeah, this is where things get real. This session will probably explore all those AWS security services that can help you detect and respond to threats, like, giving you the tools to build a really strong security posture.
Okay, that makes sense. One thing that's really stood out to me as we've gone through this list is just how much AI is everywhere.
Right.
It's not just a buzzword anymore. It's like woven into everything.
It's the future, but really it's kind of the present too. We're seeing it everywhere, building those smarter applications, automating infrastructure, strengthening security, you name it.
It's really incredible to see it being used for like actual real world problem solving. Okay, before we wrap up this AWS adventure, there's one last area I want to touch on. Sustainability.
Yes. Let's talk about it. Sustainability in the cloud, so important.
I've got sustainable compute optimization on Amazon EC2, traceable sustainability, how to approach biodiversity tracking. That one sounds really interesting. And then using generative AI large language models for sustainability reporting. A lot to unpack there.
You've got a good mix.
I'm trying to be mindful, minimize that environmental impact.
As we all should be.
But obviously without sacrificing performance, because what's the point of that?
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance. And it's great that you're thinking holistically about this, not just energy consumption, but the whole picture. Your cloud workloads, how it all impacts the environment.
Yeah, it's all connected. That using generative AI, large language models for sustainability reporting, paint a picture for me. How would that even work?
Okay, so imagine this. You can use AI to analyze all this data, right? Your cloud usage, supply chains, your environmental impact. And then AI can actually generate those sustainability reports for you.
Wow, so instead of spending weeks putting those reports together manually?
Exactly. It saves you time, it reduces errors, and you get these really amazing insights into your organization's impact. It's pretty cool, right?
Very cool. It really seems like AI can be this powerful driver for sustainability. Okay, we've covered a ton of ground here. From serverless and AI to data, security, sustainability, you're clearly walking into reInvent 2024, ready to learn. But if we had to distill everything down to one key takeaway, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a tough one. But I think it's this. Re.invent, it's really about connecting the dots. It's not just about checking off those sessions on your list. It's about understanding how they all fit together.
I like that.
How they relate back to your goals, how they can help you build those better, more innovative, more sustainable solutions.
I love that. And I would add, don't be afraid to explore. reInvent is a whirlwind. Embrace it. Step outside that comfort zone. You might just be surprised what you find.
That's what it's all about.
So as you navigate that AWS jungle, remember, you're not just attending a conference. You're on a learning adventure. Choose wisely, explore, and most importantly, have fun.